Okay, we're going to start. And I'm going to try and get you guys all caught up because I know what happens when you come back from spring break. You're like suddenly low on the motivational ladder, right? Because you're like, oh, it's so nice not to do any work. Yeah, I feel it too if it makes you feel better. Okay, so first I want to point out that, wait a minute, we're in week 9. If I can find week 9. I'll go back here. So we're technically in sequence 3, but according to the side, we're on week sequence 2 for today, right? To turn stuff in. So remember that you're turning stuff in down here in week 9. And if you haven't done yet, you want to turn in final sequence of 2 up there at the top. Now I know a lot of you have already done that, so that's the research report and the IEEE along with the resume and cover letter. And a lot of you did that, and some of you even did it before you went on spring break. But some of you have totally forgotten about that. And you're like, what? I have no idea what this is, right? So don't forget to turn that in. Okay, so up there. And it used to be really, I used to be like one file only, but now it's not, they fixed it, so it's not so big a deal. But I would prefer you not to zip them because that just means lots of extra work for me to unzip it and figure it all out. I also prefer not Google Docs because then I have to get permission from you and it's a pain in the butt. So, you know, PDFs or Docs files are perfectly fine. I can get into them and all will be well. If you have any issues with that, please let me know. Okay. All right, so then we're sort of getting rid of sequence 2, getting it off our plate, starting on sequence 3. So that means you're in the last sequence of the class. Right? I know we still have half of it to go, but this is a wholly different sequence. It's I think it's a lot of fun. Most of the time you guys will too. Hopefully you have done this quiz, and that quiz is intended to help you start thinking through this idea, which is going to be a group activity, which I know as a student that would make me frown. I would have been like, no, I don't want this group activity. I don't like group activities. So if you're one of those people who is like, well, I hate group activities because I end up doing all the work, speaking to you, this activity, you will actually, one of the big things that I want to do with this group is to make sure that everybody's doing some sort of an equal part, right? So it has happened in the past that a group has turned in a fabulous product and not got A because one student in the group did it all and the other 2 students didn't, right? So that sometimes happens. Now, so part of what happens through this group activity is that there is a project manager. Okay, so we will you'll be kind of figuring that out today. You can choose to be a project manager or not. The project manager does a lot of organizational stuff, okay, in the group. Actually, let me stop sharing this because anyway. So the organizational stuff is keeping track of people, who's in the group, what are we doing, what are we doing today, what are we doing tomorrow, do you know that, do you know that, do you know that, you have deadlines, due dates, do you know how this works? You'll be learning a tool called a Gantt chart, which kind of keeps track of all that stuff. It also is a method of showing to your boss, or to me in this case, how it's working, who's doing what in the group and how much time it's taking. So we want to be able to see eventually that the people in the group are more or less doing the same amount of time and work, right? Now, some people will take longer to do stuff, some people won't, some people will have lots of strengths, some people have lots of weaknesses. The idea with a group in this case is to try and figure out how to make use of all those. Okay, so like in a group, we'll be talking through what are all the types of skill sets that we're going to need in the group. So when you make your groups, you want to make sure that you have somebody in the group that can cover those things, right? So maybe somebody who's good at making a PowerPoint or making a slide or making a visual aid. We want somebody that's good at speaking, right? So some groups tend to do, they get together and they're like, we're all going to do everything. So like everybody's going to get together and write the paper. And everybody's going to do the research and everybody's going to do the speaking, right? That works? Cool. Some groups get together and say, okay, you're going to do the research and you're going to do the writing and you're going to do the speaking and that's okay too. As long as the group figures that out. So you're going to spend a lot of time sort of figuring out. You're going to want to tell your group, these are the things I'm good at. These are the things I am not good at, right? We want to be able to communicate. So one of the big things about your future careers that we get feedback from our alumni, right? So we ask them on a regular basis, what kinds of things would you like our students to do better at, so that when you hire them, they're better at it. And always working in a group is in that list, right? Because it's not easy to work in a group, and yet you have to. Even if you're an introvert, which a lot of you probably are, I'm an introvert too, I get it. I would much rather go and read a book and be by myself, right, than, work in a group. But even if it's working in a group online, most of you at some point in your future careers will have to do something in groups, right? It's just the way of it. Or you'll have to report to, you might be doing something on your own, but you're going to be part of a cohort of some kind where you're reporting. This is what I did. Here's, on to you for the next phase. You still have to figure out how to communicate with these people. So that's the object of this semester. Now, eventually you are going to be producing, in week 15, you guys as a group will be producing a report in IEEE format and a presentation. Okay, about 20-minute presentation, okay, as a group. However you want to do that, I don't care, but what we'll be doing along the way is a lot of trying to figure out how to work in a group. So the product is our goal, but the other real big goal is trying to figure out how to make yourselves work in groups. Okay, so we'll be doing a lot of stuff like that. So there'll be progress reports. Okay, so the project manager people, if you decide to be a project manager, you have to be really good at being organized and keeping track of information. But you should not be doing any more work than anybody else in the group, right? So that means you have to be good at delegating also. Okay? So I'm going to spend this amount of time organizing how this works and making sure it works. You're going to do this week, you're going to do this week, you're going to do this, and you're all going to report back to me. So I know for sure that it's done, right? So that sort of feedback, okay? So it's hard to be a project manager because not only do you have to be good at organizing, but you have to trust other people too, right? You have to hand them something and trust that they will get it back to you, and then be checking with them. Okay, you got it done? If you haven't gotten it done, what's the problem? How can we rectify the problem? Maybe somebody in the group decides they're going to do the research, right? So you go and do the research. Donegan realizes this research is taking me a whole lot longer than I thought. So it goes back to the project manager. Project manager says, oh, that's taking you a lot longer. We need to loop somebody else in here so that they can help you. So there's a lot of sort of organizational issues that the project manager is going to be doing. Okay? So if you are good at that sort of thing, right, and you're not afraid to make people unhappy by saying, this isn't going well, we need to have somebody else help you, that sort of negotiational stuff, then you'd be a great project manager. Project managers tend to get paid a little extra. So if you're thinking in the future, hey, I'm going to be an engineer of some kind or a computer information person, but also I might take on that role of project manager, they usually get paid a little more. This is a good opportunity to try it and see how does it work? How does it not work, right? Okay, so project manager, keep that in mind. So let me walk you through project 3. Actually, I'm going to share this again. So many things to click. Okay. All right, so we're going to come back over here. Oops, not that way. And we're going to go to the top of sequence 3. And we're going to look at the components. So what the heck are you going to be doing? So let's take a look at that. While I'm doing this, I want you to think and actually be yelling out ideas. What are all the skill sets that we need to cover in order to make this group work? So that you have, so we're going to make like a list on the board of all the skill sets that we need to cover so that you're thinking about it, right? Do I really have to do that? I don't think so. We're going to ignore you. Okay, so I have up here, you guys are kind of guinea pigs. So this topic was really different last couple of semesters. So you guys are going to be trying out something new. All right, we'll find this out. So one, you're going to have a couple different options for topics. One of them is, this is a documentary called Coded Bias that you can find it on, I think it's Amazon Prime at the moment, it's like an hour long. The object of this one, the basic thing is that it's all computer and tech related. Okay, so computers, when we're going through like airports or wherever there's security, they're starting to move towards facial recognition, right? Facial recognition works pretty well, except it doesn't work as well with minorities. So that's the mask, right? So it's a bias. There's a bias in the computer. We have to figure out how to do it. So this is documentary about that particular topic. You could also pick the topic by going into any sort of tech-related podcast as a group. You can figure that out. Maybe anybody listen to podcasts that are tech-related already? Maybe that's a good one. Looking for anything that's a tech-related topic. I suggest AI, artificial intelligence, as a big one right now because of ChatGPT. So that's another really big one to think about. So either you're going to start with this documentary and then you'll do research based on whatever you hear. Okay. So, or you're going to find a tech-related podcast, and that's your sort of initial source, and then you'll find more sources around the topic that you choose. Okay. Now, it's purposely messy because I want you to figure this stuff out as a group. So a lot of the things I'm throwing at you are purposely kind of vague. I'd be like, okay, you're going to have to go figure out your own topic. So that means you'll get together as a group and go, I don't know, what do you know about this? What do we know? We're going to pull up our computers. We're going to figure this stuff out. What are we going to do? So there's a lot of sort of group interaction where you have to discuss this stuff and then come to an agreement. We're going to do this topic. We're going to start with this. This is what we're going to do next. Okay. So that's number one. You can, if you want something easy where I just say do it, then you will start with this documentary, and then you'll assign as groups. Okay, we're all going to figure this out. We're going to watch it by whatever date you assign to yourselves, and then what are you going to do with it? Should we ask questions? Should we write things down? What should we do? Some groups are going to be like, nah, we don't like that topic. We're going to go and find a tech-related podcast, so we're going to do AI, whatever. Okay. So eventually, these are the components. You will have a proposal report at the end, similar to the proposals that you've done already. Okay. That will put together all the stuff that you find about whatever topic you choose. You will have some sort of multimedia presentation. That's the 20-minute thing. You can do clips of the documentary. You can do audio clips. You can include the little videos. You can talk 20 minutes. You can put together PowerPoint. So far, anybody noticing some skill sets we want to put on our list?
Time management.
Oh, yeah. Time management. Okay, you want somebody in your group good with that? What else do you want in your group? Based on this so far.
Communicating. Hopefully everybody's good at that.
Okay, we want somebody really good at communicating. What other skill sets do you need? What about for proposal report? Okay, somebody's got to be good at IEEE. Like, some of you are better than others with that, right? What else?
Leading like idea creation or brainstorming.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, idea creation, right? So maybe you got somebody that's really good at idea creation about like, well, let's do this or let's do that. What's the other thing that needs to go with this? You got
Organization.
What?
Organization.
Okay, let's put organization up here. What about the idea creation for, let's say, let's present this way, or let's create this. We need somebody that can do what?
Present.
Yeah, we need somebody that can present. And again, that could be some of you, all of you, one of you. Up to you
You
guys.
can have a couple of people in your group present, or every in your group.
You can have everybody. It's up to the group, right? So you might have somebody in your group that's like, yeah, I'm really not that good at it, but I'm willing to do it. Or somebody that's like, I'm so good at this, let me do it. Whatever. So we get presenters. What does a presenter need?
A researcher.
Okay, yeah, we need a researcher. So some of you love to research. I'm one of those. I love to research, but some of you are like, no, not my thing. Okay, so we need research. What happens with the research? I like to research, but then I don't want to do what with it?
Summarize it, write it down.
Yeah, so write it, right? We need writers. Yeah, Again, all of these are multiple, right? It might be that you have 2 researchers. It might be all of you research. It might be one of you. Notice a possible complication if you have one person who's doing the research and another person or person that's writing. Sometimes there's a disconnect, right? Like the writer might be like, okay, you handed me sources, but what am I supposed to do with them, right? So there might be a lot of give and take there. They'll have to talk a lot. Like, okay, this works for this, but I need something else, or right. Okay, what about this multimedia presentation? What do you need skill sets there?
PowerPoint.
Yeah, somebody. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint, but that's always the first one, right? Maybe let's just put PowerPoint. As you yourselves have noted by doing that last presentation, some people are really great at, and some people are not, right? It's just some people have sort of a artistic balance of being able to put stuff together, and some people it's just harder for us, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so there's going to be formal progress reports and informal ones. If you're the project manager, you'll be doing probably that, in which you're handing me, it might be a quick email saying, we met, these are the people that showed up, this is the problem we had, this is what we did about it. It might be an informal email like that. There'll also be 2 formal ones where you'll actually learn a memo format of how to do it. Okay, so those, and if you see any other skill sets here that you might be needing. How about this last one? The Gantt chart. Not that you know what that is, but got to be willing. So there's got to be somebody who's willing to take on that role, right? I'm willing to learn. It's, by the way, usually Excel. So if you've got any Excel people, it doesn't have to be Excel, but most people end up using Excel. It's easy. So, all right, you'll think about others. Let's keep going here. We have, so this is what you're producing, okay, as a group. Okay. And this, by the way, is not a great idea for a PowerPoint. And why is that? Too many words. Too many words on this slide, right? So this is really a PowerPoint that's intended for you to look at on a computer and get the information from. Not so much of a presentation one, so keep that in mind. But you're using any sort of tech-related podcast or the coded bias to start with. That will be a topic that you'll choose to start with, and then you will go off in whatever direction your group decides is interesting that you want to research. Okay, so you might all, let's say if everybody started with this documentary coded bias, you still might go off in different directions. You might see different things you want to research. So your presentations will still be different anyway. Okay. If you don't like that, you can find it here. Or you could just go to IMDb and go, where is coded bias? But last I looked, it was Amazon Prime. So, or a tech-related podcast, right? There's all kinds of tech-related podcasts. Okay, so who's your audience? Your audience is incoming college freshmen into Indiana Tech, and probably their parents. And your goal, probably they're engineering majors in some way, IT, whatever. And you're going to assume that, so they have the sort of knowledge that incoming college students have. But your goal is here. You must persuade them to take an interest in whatever your topic is. Pretty general. Okay, so somehow you have to be talking to this group of people and persuade them that, hey, this topic is really interesting. This is why it's really important to your future. Okay, so pretty vague, but I do want you to be thinking about that. Okay, and I'm not going to read through this whole thing because you can do it, but eventually you're going to be doing this. You're going to provide a Gantt chart. You're going to provide a review of the literature stuff that you find, the research that you find. This is the important part here. This one. Yay. The minimum number of resources will be 6. Okay, so eventually. So your researcher or researchers will need to find at least 6. One of those is already sort of the beginning one, which will be either the documentary or the tech podcast. So that's the initial one, and then you'll have to kind of decide where you want to go with it for the research, what kind of research we need. Okay? And IEs. IEEE. There we go. Okay, so you'll design, present, create, and your presentation will be 15 to 20 minutes long, and we'll talk through some stuff, more design stuff, what's good about design, what's not so good about design, how do we make this better, and that sort of thing. Okay.
How long is that proposal?
The proposal itself, they usually end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 pages-ish. Yeah. It depends on if your group decides to go with the double column or the single column. Single column will be longer. Yeah. And you can go with either one. Either is fine with me. It's kind of an audience issue question, really. So if you are talking to, well, we've talked about how the double column is a little more intimidating looking, right? And it's also difficult, a little more difficult to put pictures in there in that double column. So you might decide single column looks a little less intimidating for my audience and also is easier for pictures. Or you might decide, my audience is really more educated, scientific-minded people. I want it to look more scientific. And so you guys figure that out. Either way. All right, so this I'm going to give to you guys as a group. You can figure out what you want to do. Each person will get one. This is just a quick chart. You can use it or not use it as you wish. Project managers, you can use it or not use it as you wish. You can find this at the top of the sequence 3, the blank one. And this is basically the dates, right? So I just have the weeks, very basic. You can put the dates in. What are you going to do? And you can change these topics here, but you'll be creating your own sort of homework. So not necessarily will everybody have the same homework each week, right? So sometimes you'll have, maybe you'll have an athlete that's made it to nationals or something. So they're like, this week is really crazy. I need a little bit of slack this week. So they may have less assignment this week, but they may have more next week. As long as you're covering, as long as you're still making sure that that's good as a group, that's okay. We, in the past, had, I know this was, so how many athletes do we have in here? Okay, so maybe you guys are the ones that have to deal with this more. But in week 15, they were going to nationals, which was the same day they were supposed to do the presentation as a group. So the group found a way to record that presentation, their portion of the presentation. So the rest of the group did their presentation, and when it was time for his, they put the recording on. Yeah, there's ways around it, right? So you're going to have to sort of negotiate that as a group. How do we make this work? What are our challenges? How do we get around them? What do we do about it? Okay, that's part of the goal. Okay, so you can use this any way you wish or not wish. You can change it any way you want to suit what works best for you. But you probably want to look through all of the different things that are due and put some due dates in there. So let's look at those. Okay, so if you're going through, you're probably going to go through this and go, okay, what's due in week 10, right? Now notice that there are still some individual assignments in here, right? So there are some individual quizzes. Do you still want to, as a person, go through each week and go, what is the reading I have to do? What is the stuff I have to do? And then there's going to be the group stuff, all right? Okay, so don't neglect to go through this. So there's stuff in here like, where can I find the documentary? Where can I figure out Gantt chart stuff? But notice that next week there is still readings, and those are going to be stuff on more on reports, how to do reports, and a quiz. So you'll still individually have to do that. Okay. Notice in week 10, project managers, there is a project progress report number 1, and this will be a memo, and it'll have this stuff in it, like who's your project manager, who's members of the team, what are their skill sets, what are their jobs, how is the group meeting outside of class, inside of class, is it phone, are you texting each other, are you using Discord, are you Zooming with another, are you meeting at some point, like on Thursdays, are we meeting somewhere to get together at the library, whatever, I just want to know how it's working. Okay. Sometimes it's synchronously, where you all meet together, and sometimes it's asynchronously. Either one, as long as it works. Okay. Any anticipated issues? There should always be anticipated issues. Every group should have issues. Even the most perfect group has issues, right? And so what are they? Which podcast or episode are you going to begin with? Are you going with documentary? Are you going with podcast? What is it? And an initial Gantt chart that you will start. I will show you what one looks like. Yeah.
Do video essays also count?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is week 9. So by the end of next week, this will be what you have ready. Okay, so that you can see what are the things that you need to do as a group. Well, quite a lot of figuring things out. You'll have some time in class today. You'll probably want to make some sort of time deadlines for yourself for next week to figure this stuff out, right? In class next week, you'll have more time to figure this out and go, oh yeah, well, we forgot about that. What do we do? Oh, right? Because you'll be learning stuff. I anticipate that you'll be figuring things out as you move along because that's the goal of this, right? To go, oh wow, we totally forgot about that. What are we gonna do about this? So a sample memo for anybody that's putting that together. I've got one there, easy, okay. Notice how short it is. Memos are short and easy and concise. The hard part's putting the information together, collecting it all from your people, right? And sometimes the challenges are people. Now, I should address this. It is possible for a person in the group to get a different grade than the other parts of the group. If they had something that was due and they, lost it, didn't do it, it is very possible that that impacts the group. Of course, their grade's going to suffer where the grade of the group will not, if it's not your guys' fault. Okay, so that's possible. All right, so let's look at a Gantt chart. I'm going to go to the top of sequence 3 where it says the component stuff. Let's take a look at that. A Gantt chart. This is a Gantt chart template. Let's look at one of those. This is a really common tool. You'll probably all encounter this at some point. This is just the template, the simple template from Excel. So you can either find it here or you could just go into Excel and type in simple template and you'll find it. And the basic idea is to, in some way, keep track of what are our tasks. And you guys can alter this. It doesn't have to look like this. You can alter it any way you want. What are our tasks? Who's doing them? And how much are they done? Like, so this one uses a progress, right? And we anticipate task number 1, which could be finding a topic, right, to be done by such and such a date. Okay. Task number 2 could be, finding two research sources. Whatever you guys decide that those tasks are going to be, you can allocate them any way you want to. Probably you want to find, so this one has assigned to as a name. This one is color coded by phase 1, phase 2. So phase 1 is blue, phase 2 is pink. Some groups will color code it instead by person. And so that it's really easy to see who's doing what. So you might have, you're blue, you're pink, you're red, you're whatever. And there'll be like a little color code that'll say, this is the color of this person. And then it's easy for a boss to visually see, right? Hey, we're here. Oh man, they're behind really fast. So the idea is for a boss to see the project progress and be able to look at it and go, oh, I see that such and such a person here is only 50% done, but they're supposed to be 100% done. I'm going to check with that person and find out what it is that they need that I can help them with, right? Okay, so this is an example of a Gantt chart. You do not have to use this one. You can use any sort of Gantt chart you wish. If you go to Google and type in Gantt charts, you're going to find 5 billion of them, right? So you can make it work for your group however you want to. But as you notice, you're going to need somebody in your group to be like, okay, I will design a Gantt chart that works for us. That person obviously will be in communication with everybody else going, okay, now that we've created this Gantt chart, we have to keep track of this information. How do we do this? So is it going to be, the project manager? Is it going to be the Gantt chart person? Are they going to work together? How's this going to work? You guys have to figure that out. Okay. So it's cool, but also complicated. Okay. So the first Gantt chart might be much more simple than this. You'll be sort of attempting a Gantt chart. So that very first Gantt chart that's due by the end of next week might be much more simplified than this. I just want to see you starting it and attempting it and then working with it as we move along. Okay. So that's there if you want it. way. Okay, so here again at the top there, we've got all the components. We've got the Gantt chart template. We have all the student samples. They all want student samples, right? You love those? Okay, so we have a whole folder with progress reports and Gantt charts, different Gantt charts from various students. We have sample final reports if you want to see what it looks like, and we have a sample presentation. So you can look at all that stuff and go, okay, this is how this worked in the past. Now I know what I'm kind of looking for. Somebody in your group you might want to assign to do that. You look at all these things and tell us, report back next Tuesday what we should know, or you look at this. You guys can figure that out, but first of all, it's going to be important to find a progress, or your progress manager, your person who's going to keep track of all that stuff, right? That person will make the group fail or not fail, right? Because they're the ones they're like the keeper of the information, and they're going to see the parts that are lacking, right? But again, keep in mind that person should not be doing any more work than anyone else in the group. That's a tough balance, but you're going to need to be reporting that to me. So I'm going to be checking on you. If you're the manager, I'm going to be like, you're doing too much work. No, not cool, right? So you have to remember that it does take time of yours to communicate with everybody in the group, to ask, is your deadline? Did you make it? I'm going to write that down because I'm keeping track of how much time you're using, whatever. Okay. So I have an idea. Now, all right, grab a piece of paper or just in your own head. What I want you to do here is to look at this list, and I want you to decide which two of them are your top two strengths. And you're going to report this to everybody. So I want to know, so in your head, what's number one, what's number two? And if you're watching this, I guess maybe you can see the board. Okay, everybody have number one, number two in their heads? Okay, what I'm going to do is have you stand up based on this. So who has time management or organization as number one? Stand up. Stand up, stand up. So, okay, so look around because you're going to choose your own groups. All right, so just you want to kind of look around and go, okay, I want to make sure that I have people in my group that can do this. All right, who has number one is communicating? Anybody stand up if you are? Okay, so this is going to be a little rough for project management. Who has IEEE as their number one skill? Stand up. Wow, okay. Who has idea creation as their number one skill? Okay, we have some really good idea people. This is important. Okay, all right, cool. Who has presenter as their number one skill? Anyone? Hey, we have a presenter. Some of you are going to be in hot demand for your group. Okay, who has research as their number one skill? Okay, research. Okay, we got some researchers. Good.
Oh, you said number one.
Number one, yeah. I was going to say, you're number one.
Yeah.
That's number two. Who's got writing as their number one skill? Because you're all IT people, right? Usually I have a whole bunch of different types of people in a class. This is the first class I've ever had where you're all IT people. All right, who's got PowerPoint as their number one skill? Anybody? Hey, we got some PowerPoint people. Okay, cool. Who's got Excel?
What? Can I do mine as communicating?
Yeah, sure. So stand up. We have two communicators. There we go. We have a communicator and a time manager. Okay, did everybody like choose one? All right, now number two. Who's got time management as number two skill? Okay, so we got some secondary levels communicate. All right, how about communication as number two? All right. It's not as lopsided as I thought. Okay, cool. Who's got IEEE as their number two? Okay, all right, good. Who's got idea creation as number two? Okay, who's got presenter as number two? Okay, we got some other presenter, good. Who's got research as number two? Okay, we got researchers, good. What about writing? Nobody has writing as number one or number two. That's kind of funny. Kind of sad, funny. What?
Where you could be writing in triple.
Yeah, I guess the IEEE is kind of writing too. That's fair. That's fair. All right, who's got PowerPoint's number two? No. How about Excel or Gantt chart? Okay, so good. All right, now, looking at this same list, I want you to choose one that you absolutely won't do. And you're gonna tell me those too. Well, okay, maybe not absolutely won't, but it's your worst. It's your lowest level skill set here. Okay. Yeah, right, yeah. Let's just start there. How many of you have writing as this thing that is your worst? Anybody? Choose that. Nobody's gonna admit that. How about research? Okay, we have no researcher. Okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
What was the question?
The one your worst one.
Oh.
Yeah. Who's got presenting as your worst? You're not excited about this one. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but you're not excited about it. Idea creation, anybody has that one as your number one? Number one hated? IEEE? Not your thing? No? Communicating, not your thing? Anybody? Time management, not your thing? Okay. Okay. You guys don't do project management. Not good. Okay. All right, PowerPoint. Anybody have PowerPoint is not your skill set? How about Excel? Everybody pick one? All right. So now you kind of had a chance to see people around you. The idea here is not necessarily, so you're gonna be in 3 groups of 3. Right? 3, 4. Yeah, actually counting 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're missing one, aren't we? So
4 groups.
So we want to have at least 3 in a group, maybe 4. It's possible to have 4. I will let you choose. I've even had groups of 5, but let me tell you that 5, you would think that would be like less work. Not so much, because then you got to keep track of 5 different people and figure that out. So 3 is ideal. 4 is pretty good. So groups of size of 3 or 4, you're going to figure that out. Sometimes it's great to work with people that you know already, that you've worked in groups with. Sometimes it's really good to make sure that you have these skill sets covered, right? So you are now going to figure out what groups you're in. And let me see, who are our potential project manager people, these people here? Anybody else? Yeah. Okay, so we've got 2 people that are pretty okay with that. So you probably want to start as groups. We're probably going to have a 3rd group. So that group, you're going to have to figure it out, right? Who's going to be doing this project management job? Because somebody's going to be doing that. Okay, so figure it out. Start with these 2 in the middle as a potential group starter, and figure out whether you're going to be in a group of 3 or 4. I'm giving you 5 minutes, so go.
So you want to do Luke? You want to add Luke in your group? Boom, we're done. Well, because
You have the research.
So
If you're not good at time management, I'm not sure I want to let you do it.
if you guys want to do 2
I'd
groups
say
of
management's probably my third. I was really good at that in high school, so I just needed
I'm good
to
with
get it going.
good with organization, I'm just not good.
You'll better overall.
I was gonna do writing and research.
I'm pretty decent at it.
Yeah, organization, it's time management, it's like garbage.
Yeah, that works for me.
I'm not very good presenting.
So you are done with your year? Making time.
who still needs group? Okay. So figure out if you can be in a group. If not, if it's like you don't have these things covered, then we'll redo and figure out where else we can move, because we want everybody to be successful, right? So got a group of 3 or 4. Talk amongst yourself and figure out if you can be in a group, or if not. So you guys, what's your group here so far? Okay, so you got 4. So you guys check and see if the 3 of you, if you have these skill sets covered. And you guys are you in the back of 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking that you have these. All right, you guys 3, check it out. I'll give you a couple minutes to figure this out. And if your group, you feel like there's a serious lack in one of this, then we will redo. Okay, so you guys talk amongst yourselves, figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know how good you guys are at Excel, that's the thing.
I'm pretty good.
Oh,
I
yeah.
use it a lot.
I've known some people that like have never used it, and there's some people that have used it once. So that's That's the thing, where I was like, okay, I have used Excel a lot. I have used this. I've used that and.
I use it a ton because I just tell business what I'm doing.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, so you're using the equations inside of it to keep your budget, okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Let's say,
Yeah.
I can do pretty much all of them, it's just my strengths of like presenting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying.
I can do research, I just don't enjoy it. That's the only